So looks good.
Looks good.
Okay, let's rip. Okay, so this year, so some of the topics we're going to walk through is, it's kind of an overview of what 7QP is all about, some of the food, weather, pictures, operations, the contest scores, and some statistics. So sorry about the statistics, but that's what kind of drives when you're a serious contester out there. So this happens on Saturday in May. It's the stations in the U.S. seventh call area. So that's everybody that has a seven in their call signs. That's Arizona, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. So we become the hunted, the hunted. Everybody else out there in the U.S. and Canada is going to go after us and try and make contact with us. The intent there is that there is 259 counties in those seven area states. And the intent is to go through there and contact every single county in those eight states. And those counties now become multipliers. And those multipliers, when you get into contesting, those are all important. They can make and break you if you can't take and get a bunch of multipliers to take and multiply your score. So the contest starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, really early, runs for 18 hours. That means it runs right up to midnight. So by the time you get to about 10 o'clock at night, your voice is getting very hoarse and very hard to talk, and you're drinking water and trying to do everything to keep your voice alive for so you can make it to midnight. So the best effort that has ever happened to activate all the counties is 209 out of the 259 counties out there. That's the best that's got there so far. And so, there's some of those counties out there. There's 50 counties out of the eight states there that still have not been activated. The website is just have to type in 7qp.org and that take you right to the website so you can see all the rules, all the everything that has to do with this contest. So we make this trip. Here's a kind of a map of Oregon. You can see this great big old red star right smack dab in in the middle of that. So that's the activation zone. The neat thing is that this little place that we set up our camp at and activate is setting on a two-county line. So that's Wheeler County and Crook County. So it's really nice that anybody that makes a contact with us, they get two counties for the price of one. So the base camp of this is up at Walton Sno Park. It's up in the Ochoco Mountains. We're at 55, just a couple feet shy of 5,500 feet. I have to work with the Forest Service to get permits or get okay. It's not really a permit, but they give me an okay and to be able to use that place over the weekend. And they let the Forest Patrol people know that we're up there using the place, and so we don't get flushed out of there. It has a pit toilet up there, warming hut. That warming hut is so important. We'll have some pictures of that. Reasonable ground for putting up tents and plenty of space for RVs and campers up there. And generally, there's a bunch of really, really nice ponderosa pine for hanging antennas up in this. Unfortunately, this year there were four ponderosa pine just behind the warming hut that some uh, unliked individual went through there and cut them down. So that really hurt us as far as having structures for hanging antennas. But there was other trees further out. It just means more rope up in the trees. So you're up at the top of the mountain. It's been kind of flattened off, good 360 degree view of everything. Uh, so the neat thing is this is on a two-county line, both with Crook and Wheeler County. It's about in the middle of Oregon. Wheeler County has a population of 1,375 people in there. There's more cattle and sheep in there than there are people. Crook County is much more heavily populated, or around 21,000. Um, so from home, it's about 175 miles. Takes about a little over 4.5 hours to get out there to the place. So the nice thing is that all the roads are all paved all the way up to the very beginning of this. So here's a view, top-down Google Earth view looking down at it, where that pin, that yellow pin is right in the center of it. That's kind of where I usually stick my camper is in that area. See just a little bit north of that and to the right, there's a building there. That's our warming hut. That is really critical because we set up a lot of our operations inside that warming hut. It has picnic tables in there and has a nice wood stove so everybody can stay nice and warm. And then right to the right of where that yellow pin is the pit toilet there. So we have almost all the features of home that we would like to have. So that little pond there, a lot of times there's on the way over on the left side, there's some nice little tall ponderosa pine over there, and sometimes I'll string my antenna across that pond there. So when I'm talking to individuals, I can say I'm talking to you over the pond. Objectives, have fun, and we have a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, but we still have a lot of fun, and we learn about everybody is all about a lot of learning, a lot of neat things and concepts and things that we do for a newbie that's not accustomed to working in ham radio. This is an incredible adventure because you get to see a lot of moving pieces, uh, putting up antennas, putting up towers, assembling our rigs, setting up our generators, checking everything out, and getting everything working. So, another objective that we have here is, get first place on the two county line, and also get for both the counties that we have out there, and also get first place in the class that we're in, and that's expedition, county line, multi, and it needs to also have high power. So we run power up there. I think Anna usually runs about 800 watts, and I usually run about at least 400 watts on my rig. And we'd certainly invite other people to bring their linear amplifiers along and operate more power up there. So this year we had 8 people up there. We had let's one, two, three, four, five, six, oh, 7 people. Excuse me, I'm off by one. 7 people. So that's a list of everybody that attended. So everybody up here is pretty much hardcore DXer contester. So this fits their personality really well, and everybody works together, and we have a lot of fun, and we go after making contacts. So contest conditions. Um, so the food was phenomenal. Food is, like if if bands are completely dead and not you're not able to make a single contact, you can always come home where you've gained several pounds. The food is always really good. So that's an important part of this equation. It's really good to hang out with a whole bunch of other great guys that love ham radio with a passion and be able to share lies and extending the truth and stuff like that. So it's always great to hang out with a bunch of guys that can try and out BS the other guys. So this year, like usually, the contest was exciting. There's always things going on that you never expect. You always wish for the best. You think you know what's going to happen, and there's always something new that gets thrown at you. Uh, the weird thing is that we were kind of expecting the band conditions to be pretty good, but nope, they were not particularly good this year. So what usually happens after 2 days before you have a major contest? Well, normally you end up having a CME that comes up and screws up your contest. This time it was solar winds. So we had solar winds that came along and messed up our magnetosphere and thereby screwed us up for making a whole lot of contacts compared to last year. So the first half uh, was like solar minimum. I mean, it was almost dead the first half of the contest. And then the second half of it, conditions improved. It was better on the last half of the day up there. So here's the backside of the warming hut. It's a log cabin. That pole that we have up in the air, that is our Wi-Fi and internet connection. So at the very top, that's a big Wi-Fi antenna, and that allows us, everybody in the campers, everybody in the warming hut, everybody to talk to a common little server that we have up there for doing all of our logging. Just below that is a couple cellular antennas and a box up there that gives us a connection to our cell phone system. And so that allows us to do all of our spotting, to if we need to find drivers or we need to communicate with our spousal units, that provides us a data link, not a phone link, but a data link to be able to get all of that stuff done. So, no, it's nice to have most of all the nice features of home to be able to get things done. So one of the things that I hauled up there was this pneumatic tower. So that's a one, two, three, four, five, six section pneumatic tower, probably 35 feet or so up in the air. That's a Chris-Craft A3S antenna. There's a little compressor down at the base of that in the trailer that blows a bunch of air inside the tubes and puffs them up there and sets it up there. That device is strong enough where I could put a 200-pound person on there and put them up in the air. Really a cool thing. And then it has a rotator on it, so that's rotated south at this north at this point in time. And so normally for this contest, we just pointed it east and it does all the work for us. You can see Scott's vertical in the background there and Paul's RV on the left side of the of everything. So one of the secret sauce that we brought into the discussion this year was known as a triplexer. This allows us to have one antenna and have multiple people talking on different bands simultaneously. So the two bands that got used most there was the 20-meter band and the 15-meter band, and all of that connected up to the beam that we had up there, that tri-band beam. So that means the guys on 15 and 20 meters, they could be transmitting and putting out RF and listening to signals, and that 15-meter band guy is not going to interfere with the 20-meter and vice versa, and the same thing was for 10 meters. So that worked out really good this year. This same device is now owned by the club, and it will be made available for people to use for field day. So that is a really neat thing that we've added to the mix that adds something a little bit different. Okay, this is kind of a picture of inside the warming hut. You have Scott on the left, Paul in the center, and Ron over on the right side. And so each on their own stations working on things. In the center back, you can see the triplexer setting there, and to the right of that, the rotor controller. So we had a rotor controller that we could point that thing any way that we wanted to. And there's our beloved chairman of the board, Paul, and his station there. Wrong place. Okay, so food. So this is actually a picture from last year. I didn't get one quite nice enough, so I would just grab the last one. It's kind of the same. But Friday night, we have a big steak feed. So we have fillets out there. This year we had potatoes that were wrapped in bacon. And I don't remember what else we had there, but man, I was just stuffed afterwards. We had more food than we knew what to do with. But one thing is that nobody will uh, lose weight on this adventure. Lots of good, really good food. So last year, when we got up Sunday morning, we got up a little bit of a shock, and everything looked like this. So it was a little, a little shocking up there. Here, let's see. This is Paul's rig out there, N0 VLR. This is Scott trying to get his equipment back in his rig. This is my rig here. I think that's Anna on the left there. So you can see all the big honking icicles and the big, um, all the snow that's kind of blown around my truck trying to get out of there. So anyway, this year was nicely different. It was refreshing. Uh, during the operations, during Saturday, it was cool, windy, foggy, a little breezy, had some rain, a little bit of rain on that. And so it was, you're up at the top of the mountain. So whatever, the wind brings through is what you get. So it it was cool. But it wasn't horrible out there. The next morning when we woke up, it was pretty darn cold. And whatever rain we had basically was frozen. The side of my camper was so frozen up I couldn't get access into the utility drawers until probably around 11 o'clock in the morning. And then finally things unthawed so I could get things stowed. Okay, let's get to the numbers. Now, at this point in time, all of our logs have been turned in, but we do not know where we ranked. Now, one of the bits of information is that in the afternoon of our contest, I had two other guys that sent me some text messages and asked how things were going. And so at that point in time, I pretty much responded like it was crap. It was like solar minimum. And so both those individuals wrote back and said, "Yep, same here." And then next couple of days after getting home, I talked to a couple other clubs, and pretty much they experienced the same thing. Now, all of those guys were in the Oregon section, so I don't know how Arizona, Utah, Montana, um, I think Washington was the guys I talked up to in Washington. It was pretty much the same thing. They had a horrible experience too. So all of this kind of boils down to is that if everybody else in that seventh area call area had the same kind of poor performance we had as far as making contacts, then that's kind of a leveling thing where maybe even though we have a not a great score, we may end up coming out pretty decent on it. So last year was the absolute best. 2024 was the best year that we had up there. We came up with 27,000 points in our score, and you can see like on phone we had like 1,700 contacts on that, and we did pretty decent in CW. Now this year, actually CW, Scott really pulled it out there. I don't know if how many other guys did CW. We'll see those slides in a little bit. But CW actually did a lot better, and we get more points for CW, so it helps us in the overall scoring. And you can see that for phone, we got basically about half. Yeah, we got just basically about half the number of contacts that we did the year before. So not real impressive scores, but all I can do is hope that everybody else had a terrible time too, and that became the equalizer, and we still pull out first place. So last year we got first place in the two counties. It's not hard for us to get first place in that. The one killer that is always trying to get first place in that expedition multi unlimited as far as power. That's the one that's always challenging. There's always some other guy over in Utah that he puts a tower and he's further east and he's able to pick up more of those stations on the East Coast. It's a better hop for them. So that's the guys that usually beats us out, but we'll have to see what we get this time. I know this time there were a lot more people that were in the same class we were in as far as expedition multi high power. So I know we had more competition, but I don't have no idea at this point in time what their scores were. So here was kind of the summary page from N1MM, the logging program. Down at the very bottom, it shows our scores, shows us the number of QSOs, only 1,200 and 22 QSOs, the number of points. The Maltese, actually, we did not bad. It was pretty good on the malts there. That helped our score out quite a bit. Here's a comparison between last year. So last year we smoked it with a score of 27,000. This time we only got it 67,000. But you can see that 40 meters did a whole lot better for us. Of course, 20 meters was always our big money maker out there. Um, but also 15 meters also helped us out quite a bit too. Now, the interesting thing, if we go over here and look um, on over on the right side, kind of the same thing. Kind of the same thing. We didn't get as anywhere as near as much over on 80 meters. Similar on 40 meters. We just didn't get as many. The guys on 20 meters was saying it was just constantly a big fade. People would be in there, then they'd disappear. They'd be in there, disappear. And I think that's the same way of what we got there on 15 meters. But we managed to pull out a few of them on 10 meters. And I was really surprised because 10 meters was pretty dead all day long there, but got a few. Okay, so this gives us a little percentage. I think everybody gets the drift on it. I can go through a percentage, but the fact is that, we just didn't have the propagation. We just didn't have the ability to pull out the cues that we did. But the nice thing is that we got more malts, and those malts really helped us out. I mean, of course, last year we did good, but we didn't get that much less. I mean, only 6% less this year on the malt. So that really helped our score out. Okay. This is a kind of a distribution of the very top there left that tells us what happens in the first hour and then all the way down to the last hour of the contest. But you can see usually that first hour, um, of 20 meters is kind of a little bit dodgy, but then it gets stronger all through the day. But you can see here, even in the middle of the day, 20 meters kind of faded out. It just really faded out there um, in the middle of the day, and then it picked up for a little while longer, and then it kind of slowly faded out the rest of the evening there. And then um, like on 40 meters, it was good in the morning. During the middle of the day, it was dead as a doornail, and then it picked up later in the nighttime. So that was good. Normally during the day, when the bands are good, that 40 meters will hang in there. We just keep inking out contacts. Maybe not as good as the morning and nighttime, but that we still fill in this array. Okay, so here we do a breakdown on who did what. So we um, got Ron at the very top. You can see what he looked like he was working on good old 15 meters, and he did a nice job of inking stuff out on 50 meters. Um, Anthony, Anthony was just basically helping out everybody out there, so we just jumped in a little bit there to so at least he could get credit for some scores. You can see good old Scott there. He did a really good job there on, he maxed out there at 390 contacts on doing CW. So that's, I think, is one of his best scores that he's had. In fact, he was trying his best to catch up with Anna NH6Z, but he just couldn't quite. She was just always ahead of him a little bit. And you see Paul out there, he basically, he worked a little bit of all the lower frequencies there, but he got out there and nailed stuff. And then the other Paul there, so 40 meters, did a very good, nice job on that, and also even pulled stuff out on 10 meters. And then me, W7RIS, I got up there in just the low bands, 80 meters and 40 meters, and pulled out some stuff. So, like usual, the big winner is always single sideband. So you can see that from that. And then CW still did a respectful job, especially Paul just did a really good job. You notice that we didn't get, well, anyway, Paul just does a very good job on all that. So anyway, that's about it, folks. And anybody have any questions? But you can kind of see how we did. And it wasn't a great year out there, but we managed to ink it out. Come on, how do I get out of this? There we go. Okay, so back to everybody. Okay, anybody have any questions on what we did out there? Any comments, observation, brags?
I thought the multiplexer worked very well. I was very happy with it. There was a couple times you could hear Scott on CW, but on the most part, it did an outstanding job. It is limited to 100 watts, but it was really happy with it.
Yep. And for field day, we're limited to 100 watts on that, period. So it's not an option to go into anything more. But yeah, I'm glad. I think that's a good investment in the club. I think that's pretty darn good. So glad to hear that. So also down that triplexer, whatever antenna you connect it to, you need to have an antenna on all three bands that has very low SWR. You don't really use a tuner on that, maybe just to touch it up a little bit, but that antenna has to be a tuned antenna for the three bands you're going to operate on. Anybody? Um, Anybody else out there?
Yes, Mike,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is Ted.
Hmm.
I was really surprised you had such good 15 meters. That's my favorite band, and it never opened up for me.
Yeah.
So Paul, how did you, or excuse me, for Ron, how did you do 15 meters so well?
It was hit and miss. There would be, especially as we got into the afternoon there or towards the evening, there got to be a time. I think it was like we had like 60 contacts in just the 1 hour when it really started opening up, and then it just shut down again. Um, there wasn't much CW on it. I did get a handful of CW contacts, but even Scott was up there, and there just wasn't much there on code. So it was just, yeah, it was definitely hit and miss, in and out.
Probably looking at the wrong times.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, it's like so much of stuff. I've been waiting for 6 meters to open up. Well, unfortunately, I was busy with doing a bunch of other stuff. I think like 4 days ago when 6 meters opened up, and I totally missed the 2 days of 6 meters being open up for all over everywhere. So it's just being at the right place, the right
Yeah.
time. Any other comments out there?
10 meters, almost all of my contacts were DX, the Caribbean and South America. I had one US contact, I think.
Interesting. That's what I was afraid of is that, we get first 10 DX contacts act as multipliers, then the rest of those are just points.
Yeah.
But I was just really afraid that both 10 and 15 were going to be chakra block full of DX, and that was going to hinder us from trying to get multipliers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
15 was a lot more fun last year.
everything was a lot more fun. So it it was challenging, but I think this year we upped our tools a little bit, and I think without the tools that we had, our scores would have been a little bit on the lower side. So I think that gave us a little bit of an edge. We'll find out, hopefully in a few weeks, on how much of an edge it gave us.
The other thing you didn't really mention, I know we used some, was the bandpass filters. And when
Hmm.
you're in a group like that, understanding how to use and the value of having the bandpass filters, that's another great tool in a group.
Yeah, one of the things I haven't done is actually shared with everybody about the boring part of when we do sweeps on that triplexer and the bandpass filters that are on that triplexer. They are so much steeper and better than those other generic ones that we have in our kit. They are really, really superb. I mean, those the ones we have in the kits. I mean, you're lucky to get 30 dB out of those things. The one that's the bandpass filters that are on that triplexer, you can get 50 dB and better. And for a techie guys looking at those numbers, that was just that blew me away when I saw that. Anything else? Any other comments? Also when we do the 7QP, if you don't want to take and deal with the hassle of camping and spending time, everybody's also very welcome to come by and visit us, either the day we're setting up or the day we're operating, and poke around and see all the stuff that goes on in getting this thing organized and operating this event. So don't feel like you just need to sit home and listen to me talk about it. Okay, guys, I think that wraps it up for me talking.